Did you do Maha Mantra already?
Yeah, we did just now. I just did a short one because
Okay.
just to,
Yeah.
time is so short.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. Jai Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Gandhar Giridhari Shri Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Radha Govinda Jiva Ki Jai Jai Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Sudarshan Chakra Jiva Ki Jai Jai Shri Giriraj Govardhana Ki Jai Jai Shri Shri Nitai Gauranga Ki Jai Jai Shri Nishinga Bhagavan Ki Jai Jai Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Ki Jai Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Shri Rupanuga Guru Varga Ki Jai Shri Shri Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Samagata Gauri Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Nitai Gaura Premanandi Hari Hari Bol Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jataha Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukham Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Vande Shri Gurun Dinataranam Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha Namo Mahabhajanaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaura Tishe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vrindai Tulsi Debai Priyai Keshavasya Cha Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi Satyavachai Namo Namaha Bhaktya Vihina Aparadha Lakshai Kshiptascha Kamari Taranga Madhye Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Prapanna Vrinde Namaste Charana Arvindam Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. I'm offering my unlimited Dandavat pranams and my Shraddha Pushpanjali at the lotus feet of my most worshipable beloved Gurudev Nitya Lila Pravishta, Om Vishnupad Paramahansa, Asto Tarasata Sri Srila, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada. And then I'm offering my same unlimited Dandavat pranams and my Shraddha Pushpanjali at the lotus feet of my most worshipable beloved Siksha Gurudevs, Nitya Lila Pravishta, Om Vishnupad Paramahansa, Astotarasata Sri Srila, Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj, and Nitya Lila Pravishta, Om Vishnupad Paramahansa, Astotarasata Sri Srila, Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And I'm offering my Dandavat pranams to the lotus feet of all of my Shri Rupa Nuga Guru Varga. And my Dandavat pranams to all the Vaishnavas and all the Vaishnavis. Well, we're continuing our reading of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's commentary, which is included in our Sri Upadeshamrita, the version from Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And there are 12 essays, and 6 for, these are for 2 verses of Upadeshamrita, the 6 favorable activities for bhakti, and the 6 unfavorable. So those are verses 2 and 3. And now we're on verse 3, which is discussing the 4th item, which is favorable. The 3rd verse of Upadeshamrita is telling the 6 favorable activities. And that 4th item in that list is Utsahan Nishchayat Daryat Tatat Karma Pravartanat. So Tatat Karma Pravartanat is the subject matter of this chapter, where the 64 limbs are being described. So the title of this chapter is Performing Activities Favorable for Bhakti. Everything is about what is favorable. Anukul, anukul. So tatat karma pravartana means to practice the 64 limbs of bhakti that have been described by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Sanatana Goswami. And then also Srila Rupa Goswami wrote in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu the whole list of 64 activities. So if we're doing those activities, then we're practicing bhakti. And our bhakti is favorable. We're performing favorable activities for our bhakti. Now, we read through the whole list yesterday, completed the list of 64 limbs of bhakti, and now Bhaktivinoda Thakur is going to go through each one of these items. Not too lengthy. He gathers together certain items in certain places, but now we're going to begin to read his explanation. We had some discussions along the way, just as we read each item. So the first item is called Guru Padashraya. Guru Padashraya. What's the meaning of Guru Padashraya? Yes. Pada, Ashraya. Shelter of the lotus feet of Guru.
So Ashraya is basically
Shelter, Ashraya. And Pada is lotus feet. So specifically, Guru Pada Ashraya, taking shelter of the lotus feet of the Guru. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur is telling the first duty of a sadhak is to take shelter at the lotus feet of Sri Guru. Without taking shelter of Sri Guru, one cannot attain auspiciousness. Let's talk about the word auspiciousness a little bit, because I was thinking about this in the last couple of days. So, in our vocabulary, those of us who grew up with non-devotee parents and families, this word auspicious was not really much used in our vocabulary. But as soon as I came to the temple, then I'm hearing this word, auspicious. That's auspicious, Prabhu, this is auspicious. So we know what auspicious means in Sanskrit. Mangalam, Kalyana.
Shubha.
Yeah, there's various words, Shubha also. So, what does it mean? What's the general understanding? Because Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying, unless one takes shelter of the lotus feet of Sri Guru, one cannot attain auspiciousness. So what does that mean? Before we read his explanation, let's just try to go deeper in our own understanding of the word auspicious.
What I understand is that when everything is, I was going to say when everything is auspicious, when everything is good and blessed.
Good and blessed.
But more than that, I mean, that's like,
Okay, it's good that we're discussing this because we're going to have to go a lot deeper than that. Good and blessed.
I mean, not good.
Auspicious.
Good is not the word, but when there's blessings, when everything is like blessed by Guru and Krishna, I would say blessed. It's the word that came to mind. What would you say?
When just building on it, when everything is conducive for spiritual godly activities to take place, for good things to take place, like if we're thinking about Mangal Arati, like this is a conducive time of day because you're worshiping Krishna, and so you are creating that atmosphere for everything to be suited to create a sense of, or an atmosphere, an environment for performing spiritual godly activities. But also there's a sense of like, oh, it's an auspicious time to do this. And so they use it, astrologically, Vedically, and even in Krishna's pastimes, like wouldn't they think, okay, is this an auspicious time for Krishna to, I don't know, go start grazing the cows or something like that. So when everything is aligned sort of spiritually, then activities have more potency.
Okay, but neither of you have mentioned result. You have not mentioned result. Because here, there's an action which is being suggested that without doing it, you cannot attain auspiciousness. So let's really try to understand how Bhaktivinoda Thakur is using this word auspiciousness. It is referring to a result of doing an action. You're doing a particular action, then you're getting a result. Can we use the word auspicious, or can it be used? I mean, it probably, of course, if we looked in a dictionary definition right now, we'd find the way that the word is used in the English language. But auspicious generally means good result. Good result comes. Many people of various levels of consciousness and the modes of nature they're all seeking happiness in a particular way, good result from their actions and so forth. But what is the highest auspiciousness? Because we can say, you know, like persons go to astrologers, just like you mentioned, and they want to know what's going to be auspicious for them in their life. Will they get married? Will they do this? Will they do that? Okay? So according to astrological calculations, they want to see how things are going to be auspicious because they will benefit them. But the opposite of that is what? Inauspicious. If something's inauspicious, we've come to learn about that. It means what? If something's inauspicious, what does it mean?
Bad results.
Bad result. Exactly. That's inauspicious. You're going to get a bad result from that. So human beings are meant to seek out auspiciousness. That's why in the Vedic system there is the Chaturvarga, the four pathways of human life. Dharma, Artha, Kam, Moksha. Dharma is executed to bring auspiciousness. The result of that is Artha. The necessities being provided in life by performing Dharma. Then comes Kam. By acquiring those necessities, one can satisfy his material needs and also spiritual needs, ultimately. But beyond those three, because Dharma, Artha, Kama can be completely on the mundane level, completely. There has to be moksha, the fourth. So what is moksha? From what? Like if you were telling somebody who never heard the word before, moksha, or was not even familiar with the concept of liberation, how would you explain it?
Becoming free from bondage.
Who's becoming free from which bondage? Becoming free from bondage. Even the slaves in America who were enslaved, the African Americans, I guess that's your field, right? Yeah. That's what I've heard anyway. I've never talked to you about it. But, you know, they got moksha. They got liberation. But the moksha that's being referred to in the Vedic system is what? Liberation of what?
Of the soul.
Yeah, go on.
The soul becoming liberated from this entanglement of this material.
Explain what that entanglement is. I'm a person that never heard this philosophy before.
That's great.
I'd like to know, what is this thing you're talking about, liberation?
Right. So, yeah, that's one good point. Becoming free from the miseries of this material world.
Mm-hmm. Okay, but when you become free from it, where are you? Because the material world is the world of birth and death, right? And so this body that we have, it will die.
Yeah.
And then if you understand the principle of reincarnation and transmigration of the soul, then you understand that that's not the end. You're just going to enter into another new body, and then you're going to be faced with the same threefold miseries and so forth. So what is becoming liberated, and what is that condition that we call liberation?
So
Moksha.
The soul is becoming liberated from taking birth again and again from the samsara wheel, continuing to take birth. So it moves into, I guess liberation, moksha is not necessarily we go into Goloka Vrindavan, but it's...
Well, where are we going? If we're getting moksha, there has to be a place. Because if you're here in the material world, if you're still here in the material universes, you're still taking material bodies.
Right.
So...
1/4.
Huh?
I've heard 1/4 of
creation is
Yeah.
paramdham, paragati for whatever kind of bhakti or attainment a person can get.
1/4 of the creation is what?
Right, like she said, not necessarily Goloka Vrindavan. If someone is lucky, they may go to Goloka Vrindavan, but I've heard it's
Which is the 1/4 that you're referring to?
what someone could achieve moksha to. And
No,
perhaps I
it's
could...
the opposite.
What? A 1/4 is the material.
Yes, the material creation is 1/4. Not there. Okay, so continue. Where will we go?
So I guess
The various religions, there's different conceptions of what they call liberation, you know, after death. And there's a place that you go. And if you talk with any persons who are Hindus, they have a certain conception of liberation, which mostly refers to Svarga Loka, the heavenly planets within our universe. Those who are not yet Vaishnavas and properly educated in Shastric knowledge, they think like that. It's kind of a Christian kind of thing. I'm going to go and enjoy more of material life. What is liberation? Yeah, go ahead.
Svargaloka, if you go to Svargaloka, that is not liberation though, right? Because isn't that just an extension of the material
It is.
realm of birth and death?
Yes, absolutely. But they are thinking that. I've mentioned this a few times in the last months, that when Siddhanti Maharaj was here, were you there in that class?
I was here when you were talking about it.
Okay, so what I said is that I was a little surprised because having gone all over the world, having interacted and preached with Indians for the last 50 years, you know, but I'm not from India, whereas he is, and he's preaching in India, in their language and everything. And he revealed something that surprised me a little bit, because he was saying practically 99% of the Hindu people, their goal, like, you know, we have a goal, right? And we're connected with the Vedic knowledge and Bhagavad Gita and everything. And we have a goal that if you ask any devotee, what's your goal? What will the devotee answer?
go back to Goloka.
Yeah, back to home, back to Godhead, go to the spiritual world, serve Krishna eternally, get a spiritual body. We have a very clear conception of what is our goal. Sadhya. But they don't, and that was what surprised me. Because I grew up as a Christian, and I was educated in the whole biblical thing for 9 years in my childhood. You know, and the whole goal is to go to heaven, you know, and not go to hell. That's a very big goal, to avoid going to hell, because that's forever, according to their philosophy. It's forever. So, but what Siddhanti Maharaj was saying, and I questioned him about it actually. This whole temple room was full of devotees just after the festival last year. And I questioned him about that. I said, really? Is that a fact? You've actually experienced that in your preaching to the Indian population? He says, yes. Practically most people, they just want to go to Svargaloka because they're connected with Hinduism, with the demigods, with the higher planets. They know about these things. And their aim is to attain more material enjoyment and freedom from material suffering. But we know very clearly, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has instructed this, that that's only a temporary. Even Krishna himself in the Bhagavad Gita has said that those who worship the demigods, their fruits are limited and temporary. And they also have very poor knowledge. Hrita Jnana means crippled knowledge. So we know that going to the heavenly planets, even though there are many persons, even amongst devotees, who want to actually go there. But we know that there's something much higher, far beyond that. But those who are addicted to the material enjoyment, they see that as a very, very great achievement. But the Vaishnavas, they see that as a very big distraction and a very, very big delay in actually attaining real auspiciousness. So auspiciousness means for the Atma, not for the body, not for the temporary, gross and subtle body that we've been covered by. But auspiciousness means what will help us to attain the ultimate goal of true liberation, mukti, moksha, the true liberation. So now I'm going to mention from Srimad Bhagavatam, there's a verse that is describing, this verse is generally cited in relation to discussing what is actually liberation, mukti. So it here is telling, Muktir hitvanyata rupam swarupena vyavastiti. Muktir hitva anyata rupam swarupena vyavastiti. This is the actual definition of mukti. So here, Srimad Bhagavatam is telling that mukti means hitva anyata rupam. That's the first qualification of mukti, is that you are giving up hitva anyata rupam. Other forms. Rupa means form, means bodies. We always have a form. But here we have the material form and it's always changing. So hitva anyata rupam. You are giving up all other forms. And then swarupena vyavastiti. Swarup means one's own form, right? We know this word, swarup. Swarup means your own form, means you, the soul, the Atma. You become situated, vyavastiti means to become situated in your own eternal spiritual form. This is the proper understanding of real mukti. Impersonalists, they don't accept that as being the ultimate attainment. They want formlessness. But actually, formlessness is not the eternal position of any jiva, to be formless. Because the jiva has senses. The jiva is a sentient being. And the supreme personality, the supreme conscious being, he has senses. And our nature is to utilize our senses for enjoyment. But the material world is made in such a way that Krishna has enabled the fallen jivas, the conditioned souls, who want to be separate from him, then they can try to enjoy here with their senses. But the senses and sense enjoyment is eternal. It's not temporary. The impersonalists think that that will all be stopped. Will all be stopped. They think that. But that is not the fact. The senses will never be stopped. So, when there are no more temporary forms, that the eternal soul takes on temporary forms, he gives up all other forms, and swarupena vyavastiti, he becomes situated in his own eternal spiritual form. That is called mukti. Yeah. So, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying that one cannot attain auspiciousness without taking shelter of the lotus feet of Sri Guru. So, that auspiciousness means the topmost gain, the topmost benefit, param artha, which means the sadhya, the eternal relation of the jiva with the Supreme Lord, with the Supreme conscious being who is the source of all other conscious beings. That is the ultimate auspiciousness. So in the Vedic system, everyone is being led forward through following the Vedic prescriptions, through taking shelter of sadhus, guru, shastra, and all. And they're going toward the ultimate attainment of real mukti, real liberation. We also know that the desire for liberation in the pure Vaishnavas, who are in the highest stage, they've developed a bhav and are entering into praying, they actually have no desires for liberation. You've heard this before, right? There are how many types of liberation? 5, right? What are they? 5 types of liberation. They don't desire any of those 5 types of liberation, pure devotees.
Because they're self-satisfied?
Well, they're not self-satisfied. They're completely absorbed in pure devotion, and they've attained the stage of relishing rasa in their relationship with Krishna. Jai Shri Shri Radha Govinda Ki Jai. This is in the 3rd canto of Bhagavatam, where Lord Kapila Dev is instructing his mother Devabhuti, and he discusses how my pure devotees, they don't even desire these 5 types of liberation. They will accept if that is given to them, but they are not desiring that. Why? Because they only desire to be engaged in Krishna's service eternally, whether they are in heaven, whether they're in hell, or anywhere. This is the nature of the pure devotees, because they're relishing the topmost bliss of their relationship with Krishna. But those who are not in that category, they have desires to fulfill. So one time Srila Prabhupada also mentioned that he said, most of my disciples, they want to go to the heavenly planets. That means that they're not very advanced yet in bhakti, because as one becomes more and more advanced, then na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim kavitam ba jagadisha kamaye. Mama janmani janmanishvare bhavatad bhaktir ahoituki tvai. What is their only desire? They don't want wealth. They don't want material sense gratification of any type. Even in the higher planetary system, they don't want. But there is one demand that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is telling in this 4th shloka of the Sikshastakam. What is that?
Birth after birth, to just be engaged in service.
Yeah. What kind of service?
Bhakti.
What?
Ahaituki.
Yes. This is the important point. Ahoituki. Causeless. Causeless. When someone comes to the stage of pure devotion, they don't want to make any demand, because that's not pure devotion. Conditional. So Mahaprabhu is clearly saying, even I don't care if I have to stay within this world, janmani janmanishvare. That means birth after birth. I can remain here birth after birth. But what I do require, and I request from you, bhavatad bhaktir ahoituki tvai. I want causeless devotion to you, birth after birth. So such Vaishnavas, pure devotees, actually completely pure devotees, Krishna will very soon, he'll instate them in his leelas, in his pastimes, first within the material universe, where he's currently performing his pastimes, and then after that, they go to the spiritual world. So, now, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is telling there are 2 kinds of human beings, after he mentions about the word auspiciousness. There are 2 kinds of human beings. Those who have the ability to discriminate, and those who do not. A person who is fully engrossed in material happiness He is called aprapta viveka. That means one who has not yet attained viveka. Viveka means discrimination. You can analyze, you can discriminate. So aprapta, that means they have not yet attained discrimination. And therefore, they are fully engrossed in material happiness. They have no discrimination yet. So if by good fortune he attains the association of devotees, he may become able to achieve the ability to discriminate. At that time, the following feelings arise in his heart. At which time will these feelings arise in his heart? When he gets the association of the devotees by good fortune, and then he becomes able to achieve this ability to discriminate. Then at that time, the following feelings arise in his heart. Quote, alas, alas, I am extremely unfortunate. I have always been engrossed in sense gratification. I have lived my entire life like an animal. What shall I do now? End quote. The association of a great personality, due to whom such thoughts arise, is known as the association of the Shravan Guru. You heard that term before? Shravan Guru? It means one from whom one hears about the bhaktas and bhakti and Bhagavad Tattva.
So it's like the first person that one meets?
Not necessarily the first person, no. This is an actual guru. Yes, and now you're hearing. He's called the Shravan Guru. What are you hearing about him? About from him? You're hearing about the bhaktas, bhakti, and Bhagavad Tattva. So, the association of a great personality, this is talking about the Shravan Guru, the great personality, is not ordinary association. And due to this association with this great personality, due to whom such thoughts arise. Which thoughts? What we just heard. Alas, alas, I am extremely unfortunate. When the soul achieves that association of the Shravan Guru, then at this time, faith, Shraddha, arises by good fortune. If someone does not have good fortune, Shraddha cannot arise. But it arises because they have good fortune that they meet such a personality from whom they hear. And then some knowledge comes into the heart. I'm so unfortunate. I've been engrossed in sense gratification. I've lived like my whole life like an animal. So what shall I do now? Now what shall I do? So, by possessing faith, the desire to perform bhajan is born. Faith. Due to possessing faith, the desire to perform bhajan is born. So, action comes. When one has faith, Shraddha, dawns in the heart by very good fortune, then the desire to perform bhajan. And that desire to perform bhajan, now under the direction of Guru and Vaishnavas, one begins to practice the limbs of bhakti. So taking shelter at the lotus feet of a spiritual master, Guru Padashraya, again, that's the term, then becomes extremely necessary at that time. at that time, when that faith arises, and the desire to do bhajan comes, and the desire to have knowledge, what should I do? Then, taking shelter at the lotus feet of a spiritual master then becomes extremely necessary. Hence, by good fortune, persons with aprapta vivek, undeveloped discrimination, those persons, they obtain prapta vivek, developed discrimination, and they accept shelter at the lotus feet of a guru. Isn't that so clear and so perfectly stated?
Yeah.
You see, the jivas are wandering. And when they become fortunate, Mahaprabhu has told, Brahmanda Brahmite Kono Bhagyavan Jiv. When they become Bhagyavan, fortunate, Guru Krishna Prasade Pai, Bhakti Lata Bij. When they achieve the prasad, the mercy of Guru and Krishna, then they attain the Bhakti Lata Bij, the seed of the Bhakti Lata. And that's why Shraddha comes. And the desire to perform bhajan also comes. And as it's said here, that person now becomes a prapta viveka. He becomes the other type of human being who is capable to discriminate. And this is a very great blessing. Everyone has to attain this. Persons who don't want to become absorbed in proper knowledge and proper discrimination, they're not so qualified to come to Sri Guru. That's why Shravan Guru means one from whom one hears all of these topics. So, hence by good fortune, persons with aprapta viveka, undeveloped discrimination, they obtain prapta viveka, they obtain developed discrimination, and as a result of that, they obtain shelter at the lotus feet of a guru. I think all of us could tell our story, how this happened in our lives. We all have our story, how this happened in our lives, and what was the change of events that took place as a result of that. Now Bhaktivinoda Thakur is going to answer the question, who is a guru? Who is a guru? What type of guru is it proper to take shelter of? This is a question to consider. What type of guru is it proper to take shelter of? So, a person is eligible to become a guru if he has conquered the 6 enemies. What are the 6 enemies? Hansagati Prabhu. What are the 6 enemies?
7 names.
Huh?
There are 6, 7 names.
6 what? 6 enemies.
Oh, six enemies.
Yes, it says a person is eligible to become a guru if he has conquered the 6 enemies. No, those are not enemies. Those are the effects of the enemies.
Lust, anger, greed.
Yes. Lust, anger, greed, false pride, illusion, and envy. So that's the first thing. A person is eligible to become a guru if he has conquered the 6 enemies. Then the next item, who has a natural, deep, loving attachment to Krishna. Natural, deep, loving attachment to Krishna. Next item, who is fully conversant with the Vedas, Vedanta, Upanishads, Puranas, and other Shastras. Fully conversant. Who is accepted as guru by saintly persons. Who have faith in him.
Oh, that's a continuation of the previous.
Sorry, this means who is accepted as guru by saintly persons who have faith in him. Next item, who has controlled his senses? Who has compassion for all living entities? And who is peaceful, without duplicity, and truthful. Having deep loving attachment, anurag, for Krishna, that is completely devoid of all other attachments, is the primary quality of Gurudeva. I'm reading that again. Having deep loving attachment, anurag, for Krishna, that is completely devoid of all other attachments, is the primary quality of Gurudev. All other symptoms are secondary. We just heard all these different symptoms, but that's the main one. Therefore, Srimad Mahaprabhu has said, this is the quote, famous verse, he told it to Ramananda Roy. When they were having their conversation, Ramananda Roy, he became shy to speak to Mahaprabhu because he's understanding who is Mahaprabhu. And here I am, Mahaprabhu is asking me questions and I'm speaking. So he became hesitant. But then Mahaprabhu, he told him, Kiva Vipra, Kiva Nyasi, Shudra Kene Noi, Jai Krishna Tattva Veta, Say Guru Hoy. That means, whether a person is a Vipra, means a Brahmin, or Kiva Nyasi, means a sannyasi, Shudra Kene Noi, or even a Shudra. Whatever is their position, because Ramananda Roy was in the Shudra category from the Varnashram perspective, you see. He wasn't even a Brahmana. He wasn't a sannyasi. He was a grihasta, and he was in the Shudra category. And he was hesitant to speak to Mahaprabhu, who's from Brahmin family, who's a topmost sannyasi, who's Krishna himself, right? So Mahaprabhu was encouraging him, no. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. These external considerations are not important. What is important? Jai Krishna Tattva Veta, Say Guru Hoy. That person who knows Krishna Tattva. Veta means to know, to have realized. Jai Krishna Tattva Veta. He has realized Krishna Tattva. Then say Guru Hoy. He is Guru. He is Guru. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur is telling, if one possesses this principal symptom, then he is eligible to be Guru. Even though he may lack one or two secondary symptoms, no harm, he says. Being a Brahmin and being a householder are secondary symptoms. The purport is that it is good if one knows, the purport is that it is good if one who knows Krishna Tattva, and here in parentheses it says, that is a Premi Bhakta. A Premi Bhakta knows Krishna Tattva, right? So it is good, the purport is that it is good if one who knows Krishna Tattva, a Premi Bhakta, possesses the two secondary symptoms of being a Brahmana and being a householder. However, if a person possesses the two secondary symptoms, but is flawed in regard to the primary symptom, then he is not qualified to become a guru. Now there's two verses being mentioned here from the Padma Purana. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is quoting them. Maha Bhagavata Shreshto Brahmano Vai Gurur Nrinam Sarve Sham Eva Lokanam aso pujyo yata hari. Mahakula prasutopi sarva yagyeshu dikshita sahasra shakadhyaicha na guru syad avaishnava. So he's going to explain these two verses in the next section here. He doesn't give the direct translation. So this next section is titled The Necessity of Performing Guru Seva and Accepting Diksha. But basically, just to overview, he says, Mahabhagavata Shreshto. That means the topmost Mahabhagavata. Whether he's a Brahmin, he is the most worshipable in human society. Sarvesham eva lokanam aso pujyo yatahari. And then he's saying, Mahakulo kula prasutopi sarva yagyeshu dikshita. This person may be very expert in performing all different yagyas. Sarva yagyeshu. Sahasra shakadhyaicha. And he knows all the different branches of Vedic knowledge and yagyas. But na guru syad avaishnava. He cannot be a guru if he is not a Vaishnava. Na guru syad avaishnava. So now Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying, upon finding a qualified guru, a faithful disciple is to serve him with firm conviction and without duplicity. And then after pleasing the guru, one must accept Sri Krishna mantra and initiation from him. Those who are averse to accepting initiation, they make a deceitful show. Those who are averse to accepting initiation, they make a deceitful show of performing kirtan, and they preach, referring to themselves as Vaishnavas. A deceitful show, because they're averse to accepting initiation. Such persons certainly cheat themselves. Materialistic persons should not neglect accepting initiation upon observing that personalities like Jad Bharat and others did not take it. You understand? He's saying that persons who are materialistic, it is not an excuse to neglect accepting initiation when you see that personalities like Jad Bharat and various others, they did not take it. But are you in that category? That's the thing. Initiation is prescribed for who? Very interesting sentence here. Initiation is prescribed for every living entity in every birth. If it is seen in the life of a perfected great personality, a Siddha Mahapurusha, that he does not take initiation, it is not to be taken as a precedent. Oh, he didn't take, so I don't have to take. Those Mahapurushas have displayed such behavior due to special situations, and therefore it is not to be considered a general rule. Sri Dhruva Maharaj went to Dhruvaloka in his material body. Upon hearing about this, should everyone hope and wait to enter Dhruvaloka in their material body? Because Dhruva Maharaj did. The general rule is that when the living entity gives up his material body, he goes to Vaikuntha in his spiritual body. Common people, they obtain their welfare when they follow general rules. Whenever Bhagavan, who is full of inconceivable potencies, whenever he desires something, it surely happens. What happens? For who? Bhagavan, who has inconceivable potencies, if he desires something, whenever he desires something, what happens? Yes, it happens. It surely happens. So therefore, we must never transgress the general rules. Rather, after pleasing Sri Gurudev and by serving him without duplicity, one should indubitably accept initiation into Bhagavan Nam, Bhagavan Mantra, and so on, and accept instructions on the absolute truth. So, now it is time for our evening artik. We've learned that we have to take initiation, and everyone sitting here has done so. So you're on the path, but there's a lot more that has to be done. Gaur Premanandi. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Shri Shri Radha Govinda Jiyo ki Jai, Shri Gaur Arti ki Jai, Shri Radha Krishna Jugal Arti ki Jai. Why don't you today?